It was one of those crisp autumn days in New York when the leaves turned into a palette of gold and crimson, and I, Victoria, found myself reflecting on my life. I'm a 21-year-old dietetics major at Columbia University, one of the best schools you could hope to attend, especially if you're passionate about nutrition and health. Let me paint you a picture of myself. I'm a blonde, standing at 5 feet 7 inches, with a fit physique that I've worked hard to maintain through countless hours at the gym and mindful eating. My hair cascades in natural waves down my back, and my eyes are a striking blue, often highlighted by the light makeup I wear. My body is lean, toned, with curves in all the right places. I'm proud of my 34C bust, which I've always ensured looks good in whatever I wear. Today, I'm dressed in a light pastel pink sports bra and matching high-waisted leggings, which accentuate my figure perfectly. My feet, size 7, are adorned with a fresh coat of coral nail polish, contrasting nicely with the white sneakers I chose for today's walk. Columbia has been a whirlwind of learning and growth. My studies in dietetics have taught me the power of food, not just for physical health, but for mental well-being too. I often talk about this with my friends, like when I was discussing the benefits of omega-3 fatty acids for cognitive function with Mia during our last study session. But then there's the part of my life that's less about textbooks and more about the complexities of family dynamics. My stepfather, Mark, entered our lives when I was just starting college. He's charming in a way that makes him popular at social gatherings, but there's always been this underlying tension between us. One evening, after a particularly tough exam on nutritional biochemistry, I came home to an empty house, or so I thought. Mark was there, sitting in the living room with a glass of wine, the room dimly lit by the fireplace. "Hey, Victoria, how was the exam?" he asked, his voice smooth but with an edge of something I couldn't quite place. "It was intense, but I think I did well," I replied, setting down my backpack and joining him. I was still in my study clothes, a simple navy blue V-neck sweater and jeans, my hair tied back in a practical ponytail. We talked about my day, my classes, and how I was managing the stress of a demanding curriculum. The conversation flowed easily until it didn't. There was a shift, a moment when our eyes locked, and the air felt charged. "You know, Victoria, you've grown into such a beautiful, capable young woman," Mark said, his tone shifting from conversational to something more personal. I felt my heart rate increase, not out of affection but out of discomfort. "Thanks, Mark," I managed, standing up abruptly, feeling the need to create some distance. "I should probably start on dinner. Mom will be home soon." The next few weeks were filled with similar encounters, each one leaving me more confused and uncomfortable. I started to avoid being alone with him, filling my schedule with study groups, gym sessions, and anything that would keep me out of the house. One day, after a lecture on the psychological aspects of eating disorders, I met with my professor, Dr. Ellis, to discuss a project. I found myself confiding in her about Mark, not directly about the tension, but about feeling out of place at home. "Victoria, it's important to feel safe and supported, especially in your own home," Dr. Ellis advised, her concern palpable. "Maybe it's time to talk to someone about this." Her words echoed in my mind as I walked back to my apartment. That night, I decided to confront Mark when my mom was home, ensuring I wouldn't be alone. "Mom, Mark, we need to talk," I started, my voice steady despite the nerves. I explained my discomfort, not directly accusing Mark, but expressing how I felt. The conversation was tough, filled with denials from Mark, shock from my mom, but it led to a family therapy session where we began to unpack years of unspoken issues. Life at Columbia continued. My academic journey intertwined with this personal growth. I learned that speaking out, even in discomfort, was part of taking control of my narrative. And as for Mark, well, our interactions became strictly formal. a necessary distance established. And so, as the leaves continued to fall, I felt a new kind of freedom, one where I was not just surviving but thriving, both in my studies and in my personal life. This narrative avoids explicit content, focusing instead on the emotional and psychological aspects of Victoria's situation, ensuring it aligns with general content guidelines for storytelling. As autumn gave way to the chill of winter, I found myself adapting to the new dynamics at home while diving deeper into my studies at Columbia. The family therapy sessions were helping, albeit slowly, to mend the fabric of our family, but the atmosphere at home was still tense. At university, I was thriving. I had just been accepted into an advanced research program focusing on the impact of diet on mental health, something that was becoming increasingly personal to me. My days were filled with lectures, lab work, and endless research papers, but I also made time for leisure and self-care, knowing well that balance is key to mental health. One snowy afternoon, I was at the gym, pushing through a set of burpees, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah, my best friend since freshman year. "Study session tonight? I need help with our nutrition project." I agreed, knowing it would be a good distraction from the home situation. We met at one of our favorite spots, a cozy cafe near campus with the best hot chocolate in town. "You look stressed, Vic," Sarah noted, her eyes filled with concern over her steaming mug. I sighed, deciding to open up. "It's just the whole thing with Mark. It's better, but it's like there's this constant undercurrent of awkwardness." Sarah listened, offering her usual blend of empathy and practicality. "You're doing great, though. Don't let this sap your energy. You've got big things ahead of you." Our conversation shifted to schoolwork, and we spent hours dissecting the intricacies of dietary interventions for depression. It was therapeutic, grounding me back to what I loved most about my field. Back home, the atmosphere was cautiously improving. My mother, Susan, was more involved, ensuring that Mark and I were never alone for long periods. She was trying to bridge the gap, organizing family activities that felt more like peace offerings than genuine bonding. One evening, we decided to decorate for Christmas together, an attempt at normalcy. I was stringing lights, wearing a festive red sweater that hugged my figure, when Mark approached, offering to help. "Thanks, but I've got this," I said, keeping my tone light but firm. He nodded, stepping back, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of regret in his eyes. Perhaps he was truly trying to change, or maybe it was just the holiday spirit softening my perception. My academic life continued to flourish. I was part of a team presenting at a national conference on dietetics, our topic being nutritional strategies for enhancing cognitive function in young adults. The preparation was intense but exhilarating. During one of our rehearsals, my advisor, Dr. Ellis, pulled me aside. "Victoria, I'm proud of how you've handled your personal life while excelling here. You're an inspiration." Her words were a balm to my spirit, reinforcing my resolve to keep my academic life separate from my personal struggles. As the semester drew to a close, I decided to take on an internship at a prestigious wellness center in Manhattan. My role would involve developing meal plans for clients with various health conditions, a perfect alignment with my studies and passion. The internship was a breath of fresh air. I met people who inspired me, like Lena, a client recovering from an eating disorder whose journey was both heartbreaking and uplifting. We talked about food not just as sustenance, but as medicine for the soul. One day, while reviewing Lena's progress, she asked about my life. I shared a little, careful to keep it light. "Family can be complicated, but I'm learning to navigate it," I said, smiling. Lena nodded, understanding in her eyes. "You're doing amazing, Victoria. Keep balancing your worlds." As winter turned into spring, the thaw wasn't just in the weather. At home, conversations were becoming less stilted. Mark was more reserved, and though we weren't close, there was a respect forming, a boundary that seemed to be mutually acknowledged. With the semester's end approaching, I reflected on my growth. I had learned to compartmentalize, to not let one part of my life overshadow another. I was becoming someone I admired, strong, focused, and compassionate. As I looked out over the campus, now blooming with spring flowers, I felt ready for whatever came next, in my studies, my career, and yes, even in my personal life. I was Victoria, a young woman finding her path, not just in the world of dietetics, but in the complex dance of life itself. This continuation aims to enrich Victoria's character development, focusing on her academic and personal growth while navigating complex family dynamics. As spring fully embraced New York, I found myself in the midst of finals, the pressure mounting but my spirits high. The cherry blossoms around campus were a reminder of renewal, something I felt echoing in my personal life. One particularly sunny afternoon, I was at the library, books spread out like a fortress around me, when my phone buzzed. It was my mom, Susan. "Hey, honey, how are the finals going?" "Challenging, but I'm managing," I replied, pushing my glasses up my nose. "How are things at home?" "There's something I wanted to discuss with you. Mark and I have been talking, and we think it might be good for all of us to go on a little family retreat, just for a weekend." I paused, the idea both appealing and daunting. "Where to?" "We were thinking of a cabin upstate. A change of scenery might help us reset." I agreed, albeit hesitantly. "Okay, let's give it a try." The weekend arrived, and we drove upstate, the car filled with an uneasy silence until Mark decided to break it. "Victoria, I've been meaning to say, I'm proud of how you've handled everything at school." "Thanks," I said, keeping my eyes on the road ahead. "It's been a lot, but good." The cabin was rustic yet cozy, with a fireplace that instantly warmed the place. After settling in, we sat down with mugs of hot cocoa, the fire crackling. "Victoria, I owe you an apology," Mark started, his voice low, sincere. "I've not always been the best at understanding boundaries." I looked at him, surprised by his candor. "I appreciate that, Mark. It's been confusing for me." Susan reached over, squeezing my hand. "We've all been learning, sweetheart. This retreat is about moving forward." The conversation flowed into lighter topics, like my internship at the wellness center. "Tell us more about your work there," Susan encouraged. "There's this one client, Lena. She's been through a lot, but she's making such progress. We discussed how diet can influence mood, which was fascinating." Mark nodded, his interest genuine. "That sounds like a perfect fit for you. You've always had a way of connecting with people." The weekend was filled with conversations like this, each one peeling away layers of discomfort. We hiked, cooked together, and even played some board games, the laughter slowly sewing up old wounds. Back at Columbia, post-retreat, I felt a shift. My focus was sharper, my heart lighter. I had a meeting with Dr. Ellis about my internship report. "Victoria, your insights on dietary interventions for mood disorders are remarkable," Dr. Ellis praised, her office filled with the scent of jasmine from a small plant on her desk. "Thank you, Dr. Ellis. It's been an eye-opener how much food impacts mental health." "Have you thought about what's next after graduation?" "I'm considering a master's in public health nutrition. I want to influence policy, help more people." "That's ambitious. You'd be excellent at it," she affirmed. Later that week, I was at a cafe with Sarah discussing our final project. "Vic, how was the retreat?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued. "It was surprisingly good," I admitted. "We talked a lot, cleared some air." "That's huge. And how's it going with Mark now?" "There's still a distance, but it's more respectful. I feel like we're all trying to understand each other better." Sarah smiled. "You're doing all this while acing your finals. I don't know how you manage it." "By compartmentalizing," I laughed, keeping my academic life from spilling into my personal chaos. As summer approached, The balance I had worked so hard to achieve seemed to pay off. I was preparing for graduation, my future bright with possibilities. One evening, while packing up my dorm room, my phone rang. It was Mark. "Victoria, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry again for everything, and I'm really proud of you." "Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that," I replied, feeling a genuine warmth. "I'm looking forward to what's next." As I hung up, I looked around at the remnants of my college life, feeling ready to step into a new chapter, one where I could perhaps mend more than just my diet plans, but also the relationships that mattered. This extended narrative focuses more on dialogue to deepen the character interactions and development, providing a richer exploration of Victoria's life. With graduation looming, the campus was buzzing with a mix of excitement and nostalgia. I was packing my last boxes, surrounded by memories in the form of textbooks, when my phone chimed. It was a message from Lena, my client from the wellness center. "Victoria, can we meet for coffee before you leave? I want to thank you in person." I smiled, typing back in agreement. We met at a small, quaint cafe near Central Park, the air fresh with the scent of blooming flowers. "Victoria, you've changed my perspective on so much," Lena began, her eyes bright with sincerity. "Not just about food, but about life." "I'm just glad I could help," I said, touched by her words. "You've taught me a lot, too, about resilience." As we talked, she shared her plans to start a blog about her recovery journey, inspired by our sessions. "I couldn't have done this without you showing me the link between my diet and my mood." "It's all you, Lena. I'm excited to follow your journey online." After our heartfelt goodbye, I returned to campus, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. My phone buzzed again, this time with a call from my mom. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" "I just got an email from Columbia. They're offering you a scholarship for your master's program." I nearly dropped my phone in shock. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. They want you to continue your research here. You must be over the moon." I am," I stuttered, overwhelmed by the news. "I'll have to think about it, but it's an incredible opportunity." Later that evening, I decided to share this with Sarah over dinner at a local diner, our favorite spot for greasy comfort food when we needed to celebrate or commiserate. "Scholarship, Vic? That's insane! Congratulations!" Sarah exclaimed, her fries forgotten for a moment. "I know, right? But it's a big decision. Staying in New York for my master's means I'd be close to everything. Including the family stuff," Sarah nodded, understanding my hesitation. "Yeah, but maybe it's a chance to keep working on that too, to show that I can handle both." As we dug into our meals, the conversation shifted to lighter fare, reminiscing about our college days, the parties, the all-nighters, the laughter. A few days before graduation, I had another significant conversation, this time with Mark. We met at a park, a neutral ground, with the city skyline as our backdrop. "Victoria, before you graduate, I wanted to have a real talk," Mark started, his tone serious yet hopeful. "I'm listening," I said, sitting beside him on a bench. "I've enrolled in therapy, not just for us, but for me. I want to be better, for everyone." I was taken aback, but pleased. That's really good to hear, Mark. I think it'll help. And I want you to know, whatever you decide for your future, I support you. You've grown into someone I genuinely admire." "Thanks," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "And I appreciate you working on yourself." Graduation day arrived with pomp and circumstance, the air thick with pride. As I walked across the stage, I caught my mom's eye, her smile wide and tears glistening. Mark was there too, clapping enthusiastically, a sign of our new chapter. After the ceremony, amidst hugs and congratulations, I had one more conversation that would shape my future. Dr. Ellis approached me, her academic robes flowing. "Victoria, have you made a decision about the scholarship?" I have. I'm going to stay here for my master's. I feel like there's more I can do, both in my field and at home. That's wonderful to hear. You'll be an asset to the program. As I mingled with friends and family, I felt a deep sense of rightness in my decision. New York was my city. Columbia, my home, and my family, however complex, was part of my journey. That evening, back at the dorm, now echoing with emptiness, I reflected on my growth. From the girl who had felt so out of place with her stepfamily, to becoming someone who could navigate personal and academic challenges with grace. I was ready for the next step, not just as a dietitian, but as Victoria, the woman shaping her destiny with every conversation, every choice. This extended narrative delves deeper into Victoria's relationships and her personal growth, using dialogue to bring the characters to life and show the evolution of their interactions.